Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Just Say Guay. I'm your host, George Guay. Today I'm joined by Zach Geddes of the PLL Chaos Lacrosse Club. Zach, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, George. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so before we get into the questions, when you hear that you're part of that team and you're playing professional lacrosse at the highest level, especially in a new league that has a very exciting future, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really a dream come true. It's something that I've been working towards my whole life, and joining the Chaos was an awesome experience this past summer. I love the guys on the team; they're great to me, and being a newcomer on the team, you never know what you're going to get with the guys, and they were awesome this summer. We had a little bit of a tough go during the regular season, but made a great run to the championship game, and it was just awesome to be a part of a new growing league, and like I said, just an absolute dream come true.
Definitely exciting times lie ahead. So let's backtrack a bit. You're from Massachusetts, like myself. It seems like you had a bit of a tough decision with sports. You were very good at football. You were, all region in New England. We were also a 4-year letter winner in lacrosse. Did at some point you had to make that decision of what you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, lacrosse, it's changed a little bit now with the kids commit during their junior year. But back in the day, 8, 9 years ago when I was getting recruited, it started as early as eighth grade. So it was a really early recruiting process. I had buddies that were, committed to ACC schools before they even touched a varsity field. I was lucky enough to commit to Georgetown during my sophomore year of high school. So I was pretty young, 15, 16 years old. I didn't really know much about the school other than that, it was in Washington, D.C., was part of the Big East, had a good lacrosse program, had a good academic reputation. So, but that was enough for me to make a decision at that time, I guess. Might have been stupid at the time, but it ended up working out. But committed to Georgetown. I hadn't even started playing varsity football or anything yet. I went to Belmont Hill, an all boys prep school outside of Boston. And throughout my junior and senior year, started getting some recognition from college coaches for football, and really during my senior year, had to make that decision: do I really go and pursue these football options I have? Most of them were Ivy League schools that I was looking at, and I decided, I loved Coach Warren at Georgetown. I loved DC. I loved everything that was going on at Georgetown. So I decided to stick it out with lacrosse, which I'm happy I did. But I can't lie, I do miss football a ton. It was the first sport that I really started playing was football, and I owe a lot of my athleticism and my skill set in lacrosse to me playing football for all those years.
It definitely sounds like a tough decision, but for sure the right decision. So obviously you touched upon what made you choose Georgetown, but could you just talk about what it was like being a part of that athletic culture? I know that, clearly basketball has an established culture from their success over the years, but also teams like soccer, uh, lacrosse, track, like, they're all competing for Big East championships at the same time. I mean, does it help being a part of a culture where you guys are, motivating each other every day as opposed to just, say a school like North Dakota where, hockey really defines the athletic culture? I mean, does it help to have a lot of good teams?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was part of my decision making process going to Georgetown too. Was I'm a huge basketball fan. I'm a huge college basketball fan. I'm sure you are as a PC Friar. And I actually grew up in Providence, going to all the old Big East basketball games too. Providence, Syracuse, Providence, Georgetown. I remember one of my favorite games going there was Georgetown came to Providence at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, and they played. It was Roy Hibbert, Jeff Green on the Georgetown team playing against Providence, and that was a really cool experience for me as a young kid, and kind of got me thinking about Georgetown from a young age. Also having the soccer team there, they're great guys, and they're competing at they're competing for national championships every year. And so watching what they do with their program, we definitely tried to copy some of their stuff that they had going on with the lacrosse team, where we had been good for a long time, but more so in the early 2000s, and we were kind of trying to rebuild the program. So taking lessons from these other teams that have had national success is really easy when they're right next door. So it's definitely a school-wide culture of athletic excellence that helps each and every team in their own right. So
For sure, and that's awesome. Your connection to Providence, and especially that's a big throwback team with Jeff Green and Roy Hibbert.
absolutely.
Yeah, so take me through your first year at Georgetown. Obviously, you were asked to contribute at a young age on the team. Now, how important is it to learn from good veterans like you had on those teams, like Jake Caraway, Dan Bucaro, Lucas Wittenberg? How much did that help your first year process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I showed up at Georgetown as a freshman, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, not knowing much. My head was spinning from the start. I came in as an offensive midi about 2 weeks in. I think coaches saw enough of me shooting, so they were like, you know what, we're gonna switch you over to D midi, and we think it's gonna be a good thing for you. It ended up being a great thing because there's an opportunity to play. There was a spot open, and I was able to slot into that kind of like second defensive midi spot as a freshman at Georgetown, which allowed me to play, majority of the game on defense, which was a great experience for me. I think learning from guys like Jake Caraway, Dan Bucaro, Luke Wittenberg, they're just such good leaders. They're selfless guys. It took a lot of time to make sure that I was doing okay off the field. And then by doing that, it made me really comfortable around them on the field too. I really trusted them as teammates. I remember Jake, my first day of my freshman year, he showed up to my dorm and helped me move in, which is just an awesome thing for a teammate to do. And the culture at Georgetown lacrosse is top notch. Guys really care about their teammates. And, that's continued on in the pros as well. Jake plays for the Atlas. I've seen around at training camp. We are always checking in with each other. Same with Dan Bucaro, who's also on the Atlas as well too. So we see each other. And then I actually just saw Luke Wittenberg the other day. So those guys are, lifelong friends that all started my freshman year. And it really started with them just, taking an interest in me, making sure that, I was doing well on and off the field. And, relationships like that really go a long way on the team.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome that you have such a good culture in lacrosse and away from lacrosse. So you guys won the Big East championship. It's definitely a great accomplishment your freshman year, but unfortunately, the next season you guys have COVID. And how hard is it to just know that you couldn't defend your Big East championship, and how did you just handle that going into the next season after COVID?
Yeah, obviously that was a super tough time for a lot of college athletes at the time, especially spring athletes and the basketball guys who had literally the tournament canceled. I can't imagine that. But, being halfway through our season, I remember we were ranked, I think, ninth in the country at the time. We were going to play UNC that Saturday, and it was a Thursday afternoon. And that's when they called the NCAA season. Obviously there was a huge lump in our throat. We thought that we were going to have a really good year. We were number 9, undefeated. We were about to go prove ourselves against a top 5 ranked UNC team. Then just to have that all taken away and a pause on all athletics was definitely tough. And there was a lot of good bonding that went on, especially with the seniors who were their college careers were just essentially ended by one phone call. So that was definitely a tough time. But then going into the next year with COVID, we didn't have a fall, which a lot of teams didn't have. Fall practice for lacrosse is a pretty big thing before the spring. And coming back in that spring, we just knew that there was something left to prove. Our last real important game was Yale my freshman year in the NCAA tournament, where we kind of got embarrassed by a really good Yale team. So we knew we had something to prove, and we were going to go take full advantage of that full next season that we had, given the fact that we didn't get to finish our last one. I think after that COVID year, it's like you can't take any of this for granted. You never know when it's going to be taken away, which I know is very cliche to say, but it really was true in that situation. So then coming back that junior year, we just wanted to prove that, it wasn't a fluke that we went 6-0 that year. We're actually have a really talented roster with a lot of good guys, and we're going to make it happen. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a good mindset to have, and it's good that you guys were able to show that it was real and that it wasn't just COVID that got in the way of it. Could you just take me through the challenges of coming back to school that year during COVID? So many schools had their bubbles and kind of protocols. I mean, how challenging was it for you to have the freshmen be like, hey, how do I handle this? And meantime, you're just trying to figure it out on your own because you've never experienced anything like this, and it's not ideal.
No, yeah, it 100%. It was a weird situation to deal with. And I know for us, so that fall, no one was invited back on campus at Georgetown. thankfully we were able to get about 20 to 30 guys, depending on the time frame, to come actually down to Georgetown. We all rented different places, Airbnbs, whatever, for the fall, and we're able to practice together a little bit. We were doing 7 a.m. practices on a backfield, hidden away from everything because we didn't want to be the only people really gathering together. But we knew other teams were doing that, and we needed to, have our sticks in our hand a little bit throughout that offseason. And then we honestly didn't know the Ivy League didn't play that year. We had no idea if we were going to be like the Ivy League and potentially not have a season. And we got a call about 3 weeks before we were supposed to show back up for training camp, and they were like, "Yep, we're going to have a season." And obviously that was the best news we could have possibly heard, and it was great that we were going to all get back together to be on campus. But then obviously there was a lot of obstacles getting back to campus. We had to test, and then we had to quarantine for 10 days. When we got back, we were placed into a bubble. There was no outside contact with anyone until the end of the season. I know that was definitely tough for a lot of guys. It was tough for me too. Not seeing your family, not seeing really any of your friends for a 5-6 month period can definitely be tough. But at least what we had going was that we were all together. We were all put into some of the nicer dorms on campus, all in one building. So it was great to have all 50 of us in there. So it was a lot of good quality time spent with the team. But definitely a really interesting, odd year. It ended up being a lot of fun. And it was great to have the opportunity to play, but definitely a weird year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was 2 years out of college, or a year out when that happened. It's just, I wonder how challenging it must have been where, you guys are trying to follow the rules every single day. And meanwhile, there's students on campus who might not have been following the rules every day like you guys were. So, glad it worked out. So you guys won the Big East championship. You're also All-American, which is a great recognition. So just what are the keys to making both happen? Because clearly you were accountable for yourself to be ready, but also clearly for the team as well.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to yourself and everything, it just comes naturally when you're on a great team. If you look, especially for my position, the great D middies normally in college lacrosse are on the best teams. And you don't get any of the recognition individually without your team having the success that it does. So that's always been my mentality. It's always a team first thing. It's always, making sure that we're going to get the W first and foremost. And then if, individual accolades come along with that, it's always a plus. And, but yeah, as a D midi, it's just more so making sure your team's ready to go. The defense is ready to go, playing your role and doing the little things really well is what makes a good D midi. So just really making sure that the team goes first, I think, is key. Not thinking about any of those individual accolades, especially as a D midi, where you can score a million goals as a D midi, but you may not be doing your job on the defensive end. It's making sure that you're doing what's right for the team, not what's right for yourself. Is definitely the mindset you need to be a great D midi in college lacrosse.
Yeah, definitely. Great that both worked out. So before being drafted, you played the NCAA tournament again. You get drafted. What was that like? But it was also just definitely a crazy experience. Not just getting drafted, but it happened right around the same time as the NCAA tournament. And when you're trying to finish up school, like, how did you handle that whole time? And what was it like to just hear your name called in the end?
It was great. So for me, I was balancing the decision of potentially coming back for a fifth year or finishing up and moving on to kind of the professional ranks and the real world of working as well too. And I decided to forego my last year of eligibility. Part of that decision came because of just a job opportunity that I had in the business world, but then also at the same time, I knew that I was going to be drafted probably in the first round. I had prior conversations with teammates around that were former teammates that were in the PLL that knew some people in the Chaos organization, and I had a good feeling that was probably where I was going to be going. I mean, that draft night was one of the best nights of my life. Obviously, a lot of stuff goes into it, and getting your name called and realizing that you've made it to the top of the sport, it is a great feeling. Obviously something I've been looking forward to my whole life. I always told everyone around me since I was 2 years old that I wanted to be a professional athlete someday, like every kid does. And to have that be true at some point is just an unbelievable feeling. And then balancing that with the fact that all right, I think it was a Monday or a Tuesday was the PLL draft, and then 4 days later we were playing Delaware in the NCAA first round. It was kind of like, all right, it was great. It was a great little night, but now let's move on, focus on Delaware, and the PLL is coming up in a month. I'll worry about it then. So it was great for a couple hours, and then it was kind of like, all right, refocus. Now we're on to the NCAA first round. So
Yeah, definitely a crazy amount of days. So just take me through what's it like playing in this league. It's the new league of major sports, professional level. Paul Rabel's clearly doing a great job. You see so many sponsors on TV. You guys are getting the TV coverage. Players are financially supported more, way more actually than they were in the MLL. Just what's it like being a part of this? Because you're going to look back, 20, 30, 40 years, and you're going to be telling people I was here when it started.
yeah, no, it's been such a great experience. I mean, they really, I truly believe that Paul and Mike, Rabel, they both really have the players, really hold the players first in the league. They want to make sure that this is a players league. That was their whole goal. Leaving the MLL, joining the PLL, and they've held true to that. It's top notch treatment across the board. There's a lot of logistics that go into it. They're flying guys in from all different places for each weekend, and they make it happen though, and they treat us well at the same time. And they've got the best coaches in the world. They were able to recruit the best players in the world over from the MLL. And really, when you get that combination of people, you get a really great on-field product, which has been key for getting these sponsorship and TV deals that they've had as well too. So, Mike and Paul are doing such a great job. And then the other players in the league that, have been involved in the MLL, have kind of made a name for themselves at this point, like Trevor Baptiste, guys on my team, Jared Newman, like you mentioned, they've done a really great job promoting the league as well too. So us players have we owe a lot to them for what they've done for the sport and for the PLO over the last few years too. And I think it's only going to get better from here as well too. There's a lot more. Kevin Durant just became a sponsor for the league or an investor in the league, and other guys like that are joining in. Other professional athletes, other key businessmen and women in the world are joining in as investors. So it's definitely a growing league. It's been really cool to be a part of it for 1 year, and I'm looking forward to a few more years at least in the league. So it'll be cool to see.
Definitely, that's what you want, especially to be a part of the league. It's not only something that's great for business on the business side, but also you guys are really enjoying it as well. It's
exactly.
Sort of a double success. So I see that you guys, travel week to week to different places. There's really no home arena for anyone. I mean, do you enjoy that?
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting. It makes it really accessible for a lot of guys who are playing in the league right now. Obviously, right now, for the majority of the league, lacrosse is part of their working experience. It's not the only job that they have right now. Obviously, there are a bunch of guys who are full-time lacrosse players as well too, but it's still, I'd say the majority of the league is balancing a job in the business world and lacrosse. So right now, it was something that was a way to make it work for everyone, was traveling out every weekend, practicing the night before, and then playing the games on Saturday or Sunday or Friday. I've enjoyed it because I love to travel. I've loved seeing the different spots. Going out to Salt Lake City, going to Dallas, going to Denver. Those are places for an East Coast guy like me that I don't know I would ever really make it out to those places without the PLL. So seeing those cities has been really cool. I think in the future there's a good chance that there's in the near future that teams are going to be based in cities. But I think right now the model's been working for them, and they're going to keep it going. And for guys, it's pretty easy. They make it easy for us. They book all of our flights. They do everything for us. We just got to show up. So I've enjoyed the model, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next few years if that changes and that teams start getting based in cities.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. With guys like Kevin Durant and hopefully other athletes investing in this, that could be possible. So, I know it's a tough end of the season, but with the Chaos having this type of season, but also winning a championship as well, just what's it like to be a part of an organization that is established and will be around for many years as a contender?
Yeah, I mean it's awesome, man. I've loved my teammates, loved the coaches for the Chaos. Coach Towers, everyone who's a PLL fan sees the videos of him. He is crazy in person, I'll tell you that much, but he's an awesome guy. He truly, truly cares about each and every one of his players. And he's one of the best minds in all of lacrosse. And he's one of the best players ever to play the game as well, too. He just brings such great energy to the game, and he really he's the start of the Chaos brand. It's Coach Towers, the energy he brings, the attitude he brings. It starts with him, and then it goes down to guys like Jared, Jack Rowlett, Josh Byrne, Dane Smith, Chase Frazier. We got Max Adler at the face-off X too. It's just guys who are all connected. They have one goal in mind, and they all have the same attitude. It's kind of a FU attitude that the Chaos has brought, and Jack Rowlett and Jared Newman are definitely guys that make that known to everyone now that they're on the field too. They're a little bit of enforcers. Then you have Blaze Reardon, probably in my opinion the best player in the entire world back there, and that it gives you a lot of confidence being out there on defense when you have Blaze, who's such a great leader, so vocal on the field, vocal off the field, and just gets it done in the net as well too. It's awesome to have a guy like that backing you up. So overall, just a great organization. They've really done a great job building a culture that is, different, I'd say, from the rest of the league, but it's working for us, and we're going to keep it going for as long as we can. So,
yeah, it definitely sounds like a great culture made by great players. So just take me through how excited you are to get to your second year. I mean, you clearly improved as time went on at Georgetown. I think this has got to be a tough league to adjust to, given the fact that, you're on the move a lot. There's no home arena, and it's professional. It's not college. But just take me through how excited you are to get to year two, because most of the time in most sports, people improve in their second year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to year two, and I'm hoping to have a big year and improve in a lot of aspects of my game. I think the biggest adjustment for me was coming in was just the speed of the game, as it happens in high school to college to the pros the same way. Guys are just, their sticks are a little bit more dialed. Every guy's a little bit more faster than they were in college. So just getting used to that over my first few games was definitely an adjustment. And I think, getting those, I played 6 games last year, getting those 6 games under my belt is huge going into next year, just to give me some experience of what I know I need to work on going into next year. We spent some time playing some box lacrosse this winter, so that should help my game a lot. But I'm super excited for year two. I know we're trying to get all of our guys back, which will be huge. And, I think for me, it's just going to be using my experience from last year to improve during this off season, and then really know what I'm getting into going into year two. So I'll be prepared.
Yeah, definitely be exciting. I think I'll have to definitely get some Chaos gear on the PLL shop.
There
Zach,
we go.
Yep, Zach, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll stay in touch, and hopefully I'll be able to get to a game when you guys come back to Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, thanks, George. Really appreciate it. This was awesome.
All right, have a good one.